Welcome to The World Today. I'm WAQAS. Today we're covering two stories in our program. The first one is to do with the statement made by our Foreign Minister, Mr. Qureshi. He says that Pakistan is ready for talks with India, but that may not be construed as our weakness. Our second topic is to do with the world powers have finally stressed Afghanistan's right to make political and security decisions. We'll talk about that in detail. Let me introduce my guests in the studio joining me for the conversation today. First of all, we have Brigadier Shahid JAGIR Saab with us. He's a defense analyst and a regular on our program. And today we have TOAHA QURESHI Saab. He is with the Forum for International Relations Development, a think tank in the UK. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome to the program. I'll start with you, Brigadier Saab. Foreign Minister's statement regarding Pakistan is ready to resolve all issues with India through a dialogue. How do you think this statement will be construed by the Indians? We've seen the tensions that have escalated in the recent months. How do you take this particular statement, sir?
Look, Waqar, we are telling the international community and the Indians that Pakistan is ready to talk with the Indians on the all issue, including and foremost now is the Kashmir issue. But somehow the Indians, due to their hegemonic designs in the region and especially against Pakistan, they are not ready for that. And the latest episode of the Pulwama attack which has come up where legitimate, legal, self-determined determination, that effort which is going on by the Kashmiri is being, transformed into a terrorist struggle in the Indian occupied Kashmir. Kashmir has been a state which is which has 90% plus population of Muslims, and they have been not from the partition, but much before the partition, the Kashmiris have been trying to live according to the Islamic ways of life, a cultural Islamic cultural way of life, and the Kashmiris' right of self-determination was never understood by their occupiers, whether it is the Dogra Raja who bought this Kashmir for 25 lakh rupees from the British, and nor after that, after the partition by the Indians. They have been trying to say that we are an independent state and we should be given the right that we should live according to our own wishes and desire. Now, when they have been given, when they have been denied this right, as Nelson Mandela says in his book Long Road to Freedom, that a law-abiding man, when denied the right to live according to his desires, he becomes an outlaw. So now a time has come where the local Kashmiris like Adil, who has exploded himself, they have taken a decision that we would not like to live with them. All the efforts of the Kashmiris to protest peacefully and to give to raise their voice for a peaceful processions and acceptance of their demand has been turned down not by India but by the world community also.
And so that's very important, that the world community has completely forgotten the people of Kashmir and the misery that they have to survive on a daily basis. Qureshi Saab, according to our foreign minister, he thinks that the tensions between India and Pakistan have escalated because of the upcoming Indian elections. And he also feels that once the elections are over, things will settle down and the relationship may even improve. What is your opinion, sir?
I think that election has played a quite crucial role. Even there are now intelligence reports that Pulwama attacks was inside job. And then, according to Indian narrative and the international narrative, Indian attack or aggression against Pakistan was in retaliation of Pulwama attacks. I really don't buy that argument. Indian's Prime Minister, he does have that jingoistic kind of approach. His previous history shows it very clearly that he is anti-Muslims. He has shown in these incidents which happened in Gujarat, thousands of Muslims were massacred under his watch. So I really do not hope from this guy to have any positive solution in Kashmir. That is one thing. As far as our foreign minister's statement is concerned, I think we living in the UK, we always promote dialogue. What we can achieve through dialogue cannot be achieved through war. We have seen that with the United States and its allies. 17 years of war in Afghanistan, what did they achieve? Basically nothing. They have lost. Now 25% their personnel are going through PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder. So I would personally think that Kashmir will be independent, and it wouldn't take now centuries or decades. Now I think we are on the verge of that. But Pakistan needs to really show that very consolidated, strengthened effort, which it has shown, and Pakistan should be proud of its forces. The attacks, which
the recent altercations that took place,
which we carried out in retaliation of Indian Air Force, and I think now Pakistan has upper hand on that sense. Nonetheless, dialogue is still the key for peace in the region.
Well, sir, what we're seeing happening in Jammu and Kashmir right now is a complete shutdown that has been announced because furthermore, the Indian government has tried to ban JKLF, the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front organization. They've tried to create Section 144 sort of situation. Unlawful associations are being shut down. They want to curb activities of secessionist organizations, according to them. Mr. Yasin Malik has also been arrested, and the other leaders are also under threat. For example, Mr. Mirwais Umar Farooq and Saeed Ali Gilani. What do you think this indicates, sir? Is it the frustration of the Indian government with the situation in Kashmir? Do you think that they've lost control of the valley? What does it indicate to you?
Absolutely. It's not that the last sentence which you uttered is the lost the control on the valley. It is the Indian writers which are saying this thing very openly now. Even their political leaders, some of their political leaders are talking about this thing. You see, you cannot stop a real, actual, genuine freedom struggle where the people are ready to lay down their life. India has never realized this thing, that as my colleague is saying, that it's a time it's a matter of time when the Kashmiris will get their desire of self-determination, because they have given a huge price for that.
True, very true.
Over 100,000 people have been killed. Over 20,000 women have been raped, and the children have been shot with the pellets in their eyes. Who will tolerate this thing that his brother's sister or mother is manhandled in the police stations? No human being will tolerate this, irrespective of the caste, creed and religion. So this is now on the one side, the Indian General Dhillon, who is the Indian Chinar Corps commander there in India, he is saying that I gave a message to the mothers of the Indians that you tell your children to lay down their arms, otherwise they will be killed. Now this is a statement coming out from a person who is also a Punjabi and having links in the Kashmir. It is absolutely ridiculous. And then the people who have took up the arms, that is one segment. But what about these people, those who want to protest peacefully?
Absolutely,
they
sir.
want to just raise the voice and tell to the world that we are being tortured, we are our economy, our livelihood, everything has been compromised. So where should they go? India does cut down all the communication links on the Kashmir. No foreign media and others are allowed in Kashmir. So where should these people go? The world community needs to realize this, that at least they need to be heard.
Absolutely,
And this
sir.
is one of the place which is, over 70 years now that people are, being deprived of their rights.
Basic human rights, sir. If we look at the statement that has come out by the Joint Resistance Leadership, sir, they say that the Indian government's decision to ban the organizations peacefully striving for the resolution of the Kashmir dispute will not cow down the people, and furthermore, the Indian government wants to push people towards the wall for raising the demand to get their rights, but it will not make the pro-freedom leadership crumble. How do you take this particular
Well, I think
statement? Do you
that's
think it's a call for arms that the Kashmiri leadership is now talking about, sir? Where are we headed?
Well, absolutely. I think now the Indian government has been cornered, to be honest with you. They have lost their argument. The rights of Kashmiri people now have been discussed very thoroughly in the European Parliament, in the British Parliament, in many other European countries and in the United States as well.
Sir, unfortunately, I have to interrupt you. We need to take a short break, so we'll just take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back after the break. We were in conversation with Mr. TOAHA QURESHI regarding the situation in Kashmir. Sir, please continue with when the Indian government has now pushed the people of Kashmir against the wall. Where do you think the pro-freedom leadership is going to take the people? What is their reaction going to be, sir?
I think there are two segments to this particular part. One is that now the Kashmiris have taken up arms, no doubt about that. This is well-known factor, and the Indian government has been cornered now. It has been discussed, the rights of Kashmiris has been discussed thoroughly in the European Parliament, in the British Parliament, in many other European countries and United States. People have now started realizing that this human rights violation and this kind of acts of violence cannot be continued anymore.
Well, they also saw that Pakistan and India were on the brink of a nuclear war, sir. That should have also shaken their conscience in the world's capitals. And I would also like to add the statement of Pakistan's High Commissioner to India, sir, Mr. Sohail Mahmood, said that Pakistan's peace gestures towards India showed Pakistan's forward-looking approach for the future of the region. Why is this sort of thought process not being reciprocated by the Indians? Why are they hell-bent upon trying to destroy the peace of the world because of Kashmir, sir?
Very unfortunately, the Indian Prime Minister and the government, they have this jingoistic approach, and that will continue for a certain length of time, I would say, till the elections are over. This is quite apparent now. I think where things need to be looked at, all over the world, wherever freedom movements are going on with regards to the Muslim-led movements, they are being portrayed as acts of violence and terrorism. This is where things have gone wrong. The world conscience has diminished. They are not anymore bothered whenever we are talking about the rights of Muslim communities. Hence, the Kashmir and Palestine, both issues are not being looked at in those kind of prisms, the way they looked at the issue of East Timor and the Southern Sudan issues. So I think Pakistan has upper hand now, as a matter of fact. These recent aggressions by the Indian Army or Indian Air Force. I think Pakistan has that moral standing now. Pakistan is asking for dialogue. And I think in the Western world now, Pakistan has the upper hand, that Pakistan is not an aggressive country, and I don't think anybody should consider the statement by the Foreign Secretary, Foreign Minister of Pakistan as a weakness. And I fully support and condone this approach, as a matter of fact, that dialogue is the only way. Kashmiris, they have right for freedom, and they will get their freedom, because now it is not being done in isolation. The entire valley has started this movement. The women, children, men, elderly people, ill, no matter what, students, girls, boys, they're all very heavily, wholeheartedly involved. And that passion, what you see in millions of people living there, I have never seen that kind of passion and strength in the Kashmiri communities before.
Well, let's hope, sir, that the Indian government also understands where this thing is heading, and also the people of India force their government to realize the unjust or unjust practices that the Indian government is indulging in the Kashmir Valley to be stopped. And I think we hope and pray that this Indian election will show that the will of the Indian people is for a peaceful future rather than one which is based on a Hindu fascist agenda. Sir, let's move to our second topic, and that is also very much related to what's happening around us. Afghanistan's right to make political and security decisions and their economic decisions also, sir, are being discussed in various parliaments in the EU, in the US, China, Russia. They're all involved in the Afghan peace process now, and they're very serious about it. Where do you think, sir, are the stumbling blocks? We've seen little progress take place, and then it's more like a, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, what we're witnessing. Where do you think, sir, are the problems?
No, the stumbling blocks basically, between the talks with the US and the Taliban. The first is the intra-Afghan dialogue, what they say. The Taliban are not ready to talk with the present setup of the government of Afghanistan because they see them from the prism of being the puppets of the US government. The second block is that the Taliban wants an early and quick withdrawal from Afghanistan of the foreign forces so that they could, fanfare that it's a strategic victory for the Taliban. On the other hand, the US has its own regional and interest as well as interest in Afghanistan. As President Trump has, given a statement a couple of days back that U.S. interest in Afghanistan and in the region must be honored, and the U.S. has all the options open if the Taliban will not, agree to the, terms and the conditions which comes out from the talks which are going on. The third important thing, which is very talked very less in the media and the press at the moment, is that if tomorrow the Taliban comes into power, what will be their legal status? Will they be the terrorists? Will they be the warlords? Or they would be, how they will fit into the community of civilized nations. Now, that is very important, because how you define the terrorism and how this terrorism or terrorist terminology fixed into the Taliban, that's very important. Because tomorrow, after coming into power, they have to deal with the word and how the word perceives them. Do they have a status of a normal country? And then, of course, the rehabilitation, rebuilding of the Afghanistan. You know, US at this moment is spending about $50 billion a year to maintain its forces over there.
So here's the million-dollar question, sir, because officials from China, Russia, and the US, they've all been talking about it, including the EU officials as well, and they've underscored their respect for the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Afghanistan, as well as Afghanistan's right to make its own political, security, and economic decisions. Who exactly are we talking about here? So is it the Afghan government, or is it the Taliban, or is it something that's going to happen in the future?
That's what a whirlpool is. You know, as I was saying, the $6 to $7 billion they're spending on maintaining the Afghan National Army. So tomorrow, who will fund this much of money? Who, keeping the economic environment prevailing in the world? No, either the US or the China. Other than that, I don't think, you know, any other country has that. And then another point which has come up after the talks and recent Friday, Saturday talks in USA, where, you know, China, Russia, and a few other countries were there. The Taliban have also asked the guarantee from the leading countries that where the US is asking for a guarantee, the Taliban, they're also asking for a guarantee from, especially from the Russia, from the China, from Pakistan, from Iran, that the US will abide by its terms and conditions which are decided. So that is a very, very, you know, alarming thing which is coming up.
And it is further alarming, sir, because we've seen the United States government walk away from international agreements in many cases,
exactly.
Whether it's the Paris Climate Accord or whether it's the Iranian nuclear deal.
You have taken the, you've spoken the words of my mouth. Now, also with this, you know, Daesh, which is coming up on the northern side of Afghanistan, you know, who is funding them? That is the heavily funded organization at this moment. And on the one side in Syria, the Americans are saying that the Daesh is all over. On the other hand, it's coming up over here. So this all is, you know, what you say is talk and fight environment.
That's what we're witnessing, sir. Unfortunately, they also talk about that any peace agreement that may take place in the future must uphold the rights of all Afghans, in particular those of women, minorities, and children. That's a statement by the State Department, Mr. Khalilzad, meeting after the EU, with the EU envoy. How are they going to guarantee that, sir? How are they going to make sure that these rights of Afghans are going to be upheld?
Well, this is a very strange kind of statement, I would say. Has the American-led coalition managed to remove the blue burqa from the Afghan women? No, they haven't. Have they enabled Afghan girls to have the similar rights what we are talking about for education and this and that? When we visited Afghanistan last year with the CRSS, and I chaired a conference of parliamentarians and diplomats and some army officials, quite high-powered delegation was there. It is the FCO's, British Foreign Commonwealth Office's program. It was quite openly and frankly said that 60 to 70%, maybe more, area is controlled by Taliban in Afghanistan. And people were accepting that. Quite normal discussion, very open and frank discussion. And the government did not have writ in even outside Kabul to the extent which many other countries would have even on the borders. So I honestly believe that there should be a power sharing formula. I don't think Taliban should be insisting to have a, and I don't think they are either. There are two types of dialogues going on. Some are overt, some are covert.
Absolutely, sir. So the most important sticking point here is the Afghan reluctance to engage with the so-called Afghan government because they feel that they're puppets. But at the end of the day, sir, whether they are puppets or not, they are stakeholders in Afghanistan's future and they must be engaged with. Don't you agree with that, sir?
No, absolutely. I think Pakistan is in a very strategic position, and I would like to congratulate Pakistan's government and the authorities that they have played very crucial role, and I think they need to continue to play a crucial role in this dialogue, because if there is a peace in Afghanistan, there is a peace in Pakistan, both countries are politically stable, then economic stability can come in both countries, hence the peace in the entire region and stability in the entire region. As far as the United States is concerned, I strongly believe they have no choice but to leave the country. Having said that, they will still have their security personnel to secure their interests in the region. I don't think there will be 100%
complete withdrawal.
No, there will be no 100% complete withdrawal. And at the same time, I think this is the responsibility of United Nations now. Really, they need to come out. They need to come out of the woods now, and they need to really take over certain responsibilities. They need to train and capacity build Afghan Taliban, and they need to ensure that the power sharing formula, whatever parties agree, they need to support that formula. And brigadiers have rightly said that who is going to be governed, what is going to be their status, and I think that status need to be determined well in advance of heading towards forming any government. If the one foot is in and the other foot is out, that work is not, that process is not going to work at all. Again, it will lead to the civil disturbances there. Hence, it will transfer the problem to the borders of Pakistan and then deep inside Pakistan. And I think it is in the region's interest that Pakistan takes real effective leading role in concluding these dialogues in a very constructive and productive manner for the interest of the entire region.
Yes, sir, because what we are witnessing at the moment, sir, is that we have this conversation taking place trying to bring peace to Afghanistan, but at the same time, there are airstrikes being conducted by the Americans, and there is also an equally fierce fight being put up by the Taliban, sir. For example, there was the latest airstrike that killed 13 civilians. The casualties included children and also, not just children, but also women. And the total civilian death toll was pegged at around 12 to 13 people, sir. How is this going to continue? How can the Americans continue to fight, bomb civilians and expect the Taliban to actually talk to them on the negotiating table? How is that going to be possible?
As my worthy colleague has said that almost 70% of Afghan land is being controlled by the Taliban. There is no doubt in that. The second thing is that the campaigning season is now going to start.
It's already started, sir. The Taliban said, according to them, they killed 19 members of the Afghan forces, 5 from Kunduz, and there were 2 US soldiers that were also killed in combat on Friday, according to the US Department of Defense.
Okay. Now that is the thing. Once the campaigning season has started, the second important thing is that in such type of peace talks, both the parties will always like to create an upper edge, an upper hand to negotiate from a dominating position. Now that is going to be with the Taliban as well as with the Afghans. As I have told you that 2 days before there was Donald Trump's interview in which he has said that we have different options. We have to see this thing that this will keep on going, and in the words according to Ramzi Khalildar, you cannot eat an elephant in one bite. So it will take time. This thing will keep going. But as far as the killing of the innocent civilian is concerned, the US forces have to be very, very careful. That is a nation which has the most advanced gadgetries to conduct these strikes. So doing such a folly and killing so many people, this is purely human rights violations.
Absolutely, sir. But unfortunately, we're out of time, and we will be discussing this situation as we have been for the past 7 years or so, sir. Thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. Well, you heard the conversation, and as always, we like to say, please draw your own conclusions from what you've heard. But before we end the program, we would also like to say that Pakistan has kick-started its polio program for this year, and we hope that the citizens support this noble program and make sure that their children don't fall prey to this evil disease. On that note, it's goodbye.